Mayors from across the province will gather in Regina later this week. It's not for official meetings, it's actually for summer school. True story. SUMA's Mayors Summer School gets underway later this week, hosted at the University of Regina. The goal, learning, networking, and skill building. The program also covers everything from governance and conflict of interest to leadership strategies tailored to the challenges of running a town or city. It's also a chance to swap stories and strategies, share solutions, and take some new ideas back to their communities. Today on Blue Sky, we are talking about what municipal leaders are learning, the challenges they're facing, and what they can take back to council after this gathering. If you were in the room with all the mayors in Saskatchewan, what would you want to tell them? Call 1-800-716-2221 or email us bluesky@cbc.ca. So specifically, SUMA Summer School is on Thursday and Friday. The agenda is packed full of interesting presentations from longtime mayors and different organizations that are related to governance. For more, we're going to start with Randy Golden. She is the president of the Saskatchewan Association of Urban Municipalities and a city councillor in Yorkton. That is where we have reached her. Welcome to Blue Sky, Randy.
Well, thank you very much, Sam, and thank you very much for this program. And I know that the mayors that you're going to be having on board will provide some great information. But and thanks to Ethan for the weather. It is great times across the province. Here in Yorkton, we're going to be reaching 28, which will have our community members off to our swimming pools and our spray parks as they are across this province. And that's something that our urban municipalities provide for the citizens.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, you think of summer school, you think of it as either the overachievers working to get ahead or the kids who need to make up grades to keep up with their class. What is Mayor's Summer School?
Well, this is something, and you know, SUMA is known for the advocacy that we do for our resort villages, our towns, our cities, our northern municipalities. Very much known for our advocacy that we do to provincial and federal government. But we also, one of our mandates is to provide education, professional development opportunities for our members, our over 440 members across this province. So we've been doing this for the past few years. It's been very effective. That's what we're hearing from our attendees, the mayors, and other years when we also include councillors when they come together. So it's about that education, but it's also about those networking opportunities to learn some best practices and what's working in one community and that may help another community. But we have a great variety this year. We just had our municipal elections in November of last year. So we have a good mix of about half and half of newly elected first-term mayors. And then we have the others that we have experienced mature mayors that are going to be attending too.
Who came up with the idea for this? Where did this spark? Where's the genesis of this?
So it's really interesting. So it came about many years ago. We've been doing this for, I think, about 10 years now. And it came about for just, some of our mayors and councillors saying, what is there over the summer? And it also came about for how do we prepare for the next election if we're going to be running again? So that's what sparked it. So SUMA is always known for providing opportunities, but also for listening to what is needed from our elected officials. So that's where it came from. We heard some of that, and we put forward Mayor's Summer School.
How has it evolved since a decade ago? What did you learn in those first few years that has really made it the focal point that it is and will be later this week?
Well, I think it is really looking at where we are in the municipal election cycle too. So as I said, we just went through elections. We have some newly elected first-time mayors. So things like what is the role of a mayor? How do we interact with our council? How do we interact with public? Some of those things that can be real challenges to newly elected mayors. Also, we don't want them feeling alone. Like who can I call if there's some issues? So those are the things that we learned. That whole communication, the whole interaction is really important. And some of the things that have come up over those years that we've been doing this, and it's become more and more of an issue as we're seeing more disaster mitigation. Some things that are happening right now, and you mentioned it in our province around wildfires, but some of the learnings that we've gathered from that will also be effective in not just wildfires, but some of the things that our municipalities are seeing now, whether it's been extreme rain events, and we've seen some of that in some of our communities this summer, but some of the things that have happened, and how can we best deal with it? We know, and the communication we've had, not just in our province around that, but nationally with our Federation of Canadian Municipalities and some of the communications, how best to be prepared for that. So those are the things that we've heard, requested, and we've built into this agenda.
I think it's so interesting that there's an opportunity there for crisis and disaster management, just swapping of almost war stories where you're like, well, you think this is bad. I had to deal with this, and this is what we did at the time, but I wish we would have known that. So opening up those conversations is a really great opportunity. I want to bring in another guest now who's patiently waiting. Dennis Helmuth is the mayor of Rostern. He is presenting about regional cooperation at the Mayors Summer School. Hi, Dennis. Welcome to Blue Sky.
Hi, Sam. It's a pleasure to be on your show today.
Okay. Tell me about the need for regional cooperation, particularly, I think, when it comes to rural areas.
Absolutely. It is a major assignment, if you will, on every mayor's desk, every council's desk, to be more regionally oriented in terms of how we set our priorities, how we respond to situations that arise somewhat unexpectedly, but perhaps most importantly, how we plan for the future. The good old days, if you will, of communities acting in isolation from each other and kind of sparring it out at the hockey rink. And then those days have gone by a long time ago, certainly within our region. At this point, you have to be talking with your neighbors to be able to afford things, to initiate new projects. And that's been the experience in Rostern for basically since 2008, when we first formed as a regional entity, along with 7 or 8 other municipalities and 2 First Nations. So over the years, we've developed capacity to be more responsive to the needs that present, and to be more responsible to our ratepayers in terms of providing a high level of service at an affordable price.
So my question for you, okay, first of all, did people actually fight about civic issues at the hockey rink?
Sure. I think there's always, perhaps in a rural context, fighting might be overstating it, but there's certainly some mythology going on here. But by and large, my sense is, having been at the council table for a few years, that you pretty much acted in isolation from other communities in terms of municipal governance.
Okay. How does you mentioned the need to afford things. How does group purchasing come into play in a regional circumstance?
Well, I think perhaps the best way to talk about that is to give maybe really quickly 2 examples.
Sure.
This past year, our community and our region have embarked on a community safety officer program. This is a program that's recognized and authorized by the Department of Justice. It helps with bylaw enforcement. It also has authority to carry out highway traffic safety issues. you can issue a ticket. So that project, for example, I think the startup costs, as I recall, were in excess of $150,000 for capital costs. Operating costs per year are probably close to $125,000 a year. So when you talk about a program like that for a community the size of Roston or smaller communities throughout the province, that's a big pile of revenue that one community would be really, really stressed to rationalize it, really, to come up with it. But within a shared context, in our case, we have 5 other municipalities that are sharing that program. We have a call out to us from another municipality that wants to be part of that. So collectively, it's a doable project. And so there's one example. Another one really quickly is regarding the new hospital that's being planned for our community to replace our current 75-year-old hospital. The requirements from the provincial government are that our municipality needs to come up with 20% of the capital costs. We're still waiting a little bit on what 20% of X will look like. We know it'll be a large number, but to help meet our 20%, in a collective sense, we've had really wonderful cooperation from our neighboring communities regarding applying a levy to help come up with 20% of capital costs. We've had that levy in place since 2016 already. So when we get closer to the plans coming into fruition and the shovels hitting the ground, we'll be in a pretty good starting position regarding our 20% obligation. And once again, to face that down as just one community, it wouldn't happen. It simply would be out of reach. But collectively, we can do projects like this.
And then they benefit the entire region as well, right?
Absolutely. We're located in a fairly thriving, if I may say, area of the province. A quick shout out to some of my neighboring communities of Hepburn, Waldheim, Duck Lake, Hague, two rural municipalities, and of course a very close proximity to 2 First Nations. So collectively, we're in excess of 10,000 people. And regarding healthcare delivery, the role of a community hospital, people come from way beyond our region to access care. So it is a vital service, health service that we endeavor to be a part of, and that we're called to help provide. Whether we quite want to go in that direction or not, that is the reality, and that's part of who we are as a community.
Okay, I want to go to the phones because we do want to hear from listeners today. And in this case, the listener happens to be a mayor. The mayor of Yorkton, Aaron Keenley, is on the line. Hi, Mayor Keenley.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
Thanks so much for reaching out today. I understand you are a first-time mayor, but you attended mayor school previously as a councillor.
Yeah, I thought it would be an interesting perspective for you to have, and it was good to come on and listen to Mayor Dennis as well as hear from our councillor and SUMA President Randy Golden. So I thought it'd be good to listen and as well as, I guess, give my 2 cents.
So let's get your 2 cents. What did you learn as a councillor that you'll take into your time now as mayor?
Yeah, well, I certainly appreciated the opportunity back, I believe it was in 2018 when I attended the SUMA Mayors Summer School. Gave me not only a great opportunity to hear from a lot of good presenters, but also to network with other mayors and councillors. And as Councillor Golden stated, you're not alone. You find out a lot of people who are dealing with very similar issues, and it gives you the opportunity to fire an email or a text or pick up the phone and have a call with some of these other elected officials. And I've already seen a benefit to that in some of the other SUMA offerings, and so I'm excited for that again. But that's one of the things I look back on 2018. They also did a little bit of strategic communication training. I remember I want to say, I can't remember if Ian McCormick was there for that or if it was at a SUMA conference, but some of the presenters also for this year I recognize as well.
Okay. So when it comes to networking, because that seems to be the big thing, what are you most looking forward to this year?
Well, I think there's a number of mayors that I haven't met yet. We get together as the City Mayors Caucus, and so it's city mayors. I think there's a lot that can be learned from some of the town mayors, and I'm interested in networking and getting to know them. Then there's also some of the mayors that I have met through the City Caucus and some other things, FCM conference. And so just having the opportunity to reconnect with them and see how things are going, especially for some of us who this is our first time in the role of mayor.
Do you have any challenges in Yorkton right now that you're hoping to maybe get some advice on from other mayors?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things. I mean, one of the things I'm dealing with this week, as a matter of fact, and something that's been on my mind quite heavily is just, and Councillor Golden spoke to it, which is advocacy with the provincial government and federal government. Something that I love doing is building relationships, but also understanding the strategy and timeliness of some of those advocacy pieces when you're looking for help from the provincial government or possibly the federal government. And so knowing that some of the other communities have built certain things, like we're going to be looking in the future for help with our wastewater treatment facility. And so knowing that, Lloydminster's recently went through that. And so being able to sit down and chat with the mayor from Lloyd about that project and how it all worked and how I could better advocate for our project and our community, that's certainly something that comes front of mind.
Mayor Helmuth, do you have any advice for Mayor Keenley while he's on the line?
You're on the right path. The learning curve can be steep, if I may say, for new mayors. And in my experience, my experience as being the mayor of a community of not quite 2,000 people, the parallels are very similar, no matter what the size of the community. The issues you face, the human dynamic, the challenges with advocacy for projects that are dear to you. These are issues that are shared, no matter, in my experience, no matter what the size of the community, from the smallest even to city size. I often say that the only difference is the size of the spreadsheet. But the issues, the way we are called to relate to our ratepayers, to the citizens, that's always a changing dynamic. It's a very challenging dynamic we face. We know from a municipal governance perspective that trust is amongst citizens is lower than it has historically been. So this is something we all need to talk about and figure out how to be effective communicators and to some extent how to, if I may say, how to help hold each other's hands, because it can be a daunting situation to face the many demands and the many impulsive responses that could come across a town office. So welcome to Mayor Aaron, and we will chat more later in the week.
All right. Thank you both so much for this. Mayor Keenley, appreciate you calling in. And Mayor Helmuth, thank you so much for giving us some of the perspective from your part of the province. Good luck at Mayors Summer School this weekend with your presentation.
Thanks, Sam. Really appreciate it.
I'm Sam McKegg. Today we are talking about Mayors Summer School and issues in municipalities right across the province as they get ready to gather in Regina for SUMA's Mayors Summer School later this week. And we're going to go now to a former mayor, one that has been on these airwaves many times over the last number of years. Charlie Clark is the former mayor of Saskatoon. He served from 2016 to 2024, and he knows how tricky it can be to operate in a polarized political environment. He's leading a discussion about the dynamics of municipal governance at summer school later this week. Welcome back to Blue Sky. How have things changed since you were in office?
Well, when I first got elected to City Council in 2006, I had a BlackBerry with a little keyboard on the BlackBerry. I had no social media. I mostly communicated with people by phone directly or email. And so if you think about the world we live in today and the way that people communicate, the way that people get their information, and also, some of the dynamics that we are seeing with the polarization that has had a real impact on all levels and orders of government and politics. I do believe that's something that's really mayors and municipal leaders are really navigating today that's different than I started.
What are you doing now? I'm just curious, what's life after being mayor of Saskatoon?
Well, I took some time off, and now I'm doing some work with the Office of the Treaty Commissioner on looking at how to strengthen First Nation and municipal partnerships. And I'm also doing some work with an organization called the Strong Cities Network on helping municipalities deal with polarization, extremism, hate, and some of those issues across the country. And I'm also teaching a university course in public policy starting in September.
Oh, so you're still busy and you're still very connected to governance.
Yeah, one thing that I took while I had time off, one of the things that I was able to reflect on is that I still really care about the role that municipal governments play in building quality of life for residents. And I also see the pressures that municipal governments are under to be able to do that, because it's just a different world right now. Another big change that's happened is the way that federal and provincial governments are dealing very differently with municipal governments. They're putting conditions on funding. In some cases, you have political leaders targeting mayors and using municipalities as scapegoats and for their political agendas. There's the role that municipalities are now playing in addressing things like homelessness, addictions, mental health that they don't have control over, but that you can't ignore when it's happening right on your streets. These are all real changes in dynamics that go along with some of the changes in social media and the sort of wider political environment that I think we have great mayors in Saskatchewan, and I want to go and talk to them about how they're doing, especially the ones that just got elected, and how I can share what I've learned about how to try to navigate a lot of those issues.
Would you say what happened outside Regina City Hall with the encampment is an example of one of those difficult situations that a municipal government has to deal with that is kind of also a provincial issue when you're talking about healthcare and other issues?
Well, 100%. Nobody campaigns or wants to go out and get elected because they want to figure out how to break up a homeless encampment or what to do with when there's people who are living in your front yard. These are not issues that any political leader, wants to do. People want to build leisure centers and they want to fix people's streets and they want to, help strengthen the parks in people's neighborhoods and those types of things. And some of these really challenging issues around homelessness, addictions, and mental health. I think political leaders, I know they all want to reduce those issues and reduce the number of people living on the streets. Trying to deal with a very high tense situation like an encampment on your front yard is extremely challenging. And it's sort of like none of us signed up because we wanted to have control whether people wore masks on transit or not, or, some of the issues that we had to deal with during COVID. They are part of the job, but they put leaders in a very challenging situation.
Talking about polarization, how do you as a leader, but also a member of a council, deal when you have councillors, past, present, future, that may be informed in some ways by different parts of the internet, have different communities, different viewpoints. Some of them may be based in conspiracy theories. How do you as a council navigate that in such a polarized environment when you're seeing people protesting outside of city halls?
Yeah, this is a reality for city councils right across the country right now. And for us, for me, I spent a lot of time making sure that I had an ongoing and active dialogue and relationship with each one of my council members, and tried to make sure that they knew that, I was there to help chair council meetings and try to keep the conversation focused on issues and not on attacking each other, and to set a tone out of respect and civility, that as much as I could, for the way we did debates. It's a fine line because you need to allow people to ask hard questions and to be challenging, on the issues and to even, have different opinions with each other. but you also don't want to descend into a situation where it becomes personal and uncivil. And so I really, to me, the art of municipal leadership is the art of relationship building and the art of paying attention to all the people who are involved in the decisions that you're making. That includes members of the public, the members of your staff, your fellow council members, and figuring out how to help everybody stay focused on the issues and not start attacking each other.
How do you deal, though, when opposing arguments are based in conspiracy theory? I ask that because we've seen that come up a number of times at different council meetings, where issues get redebated over and over again because of differing viewpoints, and there are people that support those differing viewpoints. But how do you deal with that when the issues are based sometimes in science or in fact, but you have to hear out those other viewpoints?
Yeah, this is something that we're all dealing with in society today, whether it's you in the media or local governments. We had a debate about the Avenue C active transportation corridor in Saskatoon at a public open house where the first 45 minutes were spent talking about 15-minute cities and the World Economic Forum agenda, and all this kind of stuff that people had clearly gotten from the media that had zero basis in reality. And, we're in council, anything has to have 6 votes to be debated. And, those are some, and each person gets a certain amount. In our council chambers, you had 5 minutes to speak. And when you were done, if you didn't have the support of other council members to carry on and to pursue a particular avenue or a particular agenda, you couldn't do that. And so that sort of majority, you need a majority to put something into a really active debate and conversation is one protection that is there. And for me, sometimes in public open houses and so on, I needed to say, this is not based in reality. We're going to move on to the next item, the next issue. Those things can become a real distraction from municipal councils being able to focus on the things that affect the quality of life of their residents and the things like their budget, their infrastructure, their policies and strategies that they're building, around parks, around, even things like belonging and inclusion, that people are focusing on to support their residents. It's very important to not let those items completely take you off the ability to make decisions that affect your residents' day-to-day life.
Do you remember the first time you had to say, this is not based in reality? I just wonder if that's an uncomfortable moment for you. You don't strike me as a particularly, I don't want to say aggressive, but someone who's super excited to have to shut somebody down. Do you remember those early times when you had to intervene and say, we can't keep continuing with this? Was it uncomfortable?
Oh, no, because I know, I do remember, and of course, you feel the responsibility of everybody's in a council meeting, in a council chambers, you're chairing, you're responsible for everybody's time. And if you let 1 or 2 people pursue an issue that just eats up everybody's time and so on, it's not helpful. So I think that helped me to make a choice. Do I be polite to this agenda or this person? And I wasn't perfect at that. We ended up down rabbit holes in our council chambers at different points. But that is the balancing act, is you think, okay, I need to think about how do I manage this situation that's in the interests of the vast majority of people and not get derailed by 1 or 2 very sort of conspiracy-laden views, yeah.
So tell me about what you're presenting about at the Mayors Summer School. Obviously, you've got a lot of experience. 2 terms is quite a bit, especially when you throw in a pandemic. What are you going to be talking about and leading the discussion on?
Well, this is a really great opportunity for these mayors to come together. It's a very unique situation because, they get to be together with a whole bunch of their colleagues across their province for 2 days. So I'm going to create a space for some discussion amongst everybody to hear, how is it going? What are the things that you're facing? And then I do have some sort of frameworks that I want to help to provide them to think about how do you best unlock the relationships that you have between your council members, yourself and your staff, and also the public, in order to help you make good decisions and move your community forward, and to have tools and ideas for how not to get derailed, or let some of the toxicity that can really become so harmful to the time and attention and the ability to make good decisions, to not let that toxicity bleed into your council chambers.
I know in your current work, you're very focused still on moving communities forward, but I have to ask before I let you go, do you miss it?
I'm going to be honest, Sam. I feel very content that I put my time in and I left on my own terms. And, there's things that I wish I would have done differently and so on. But I'm really enjoying having this new life and having some more time to obviously be with my family, which I had mentioned was a big priority. And also just to think more deeply about things and hopefully intervene in this world of governance in a way that isn't so driven on such a crazy timeline that just caused me, having to jump from thing to thing to thing. So I have to admit, I don't miss it, but I'm really, really grateful that I had the experience.
That was a really polite way of saying no.
Yeah, well, it's a nuanced answer, but it's true, yeah.
Charlie, thanks so much for sharing a little bit of what you learned with us, and have so much fun at the Mayors Summer School.
I'm looking forward to it, and I want to reiterate, we got great local leaders here, and for people who are wondering about their local councils, I want to remind them that they're doing tough work in a tough environment, and we all got to work together to keep our local democracies strong.
Thanks, Charlie. This was great.
Okay, take care.
Charlie Clark is the former mayor of Saskatoon. He's presenting about dynamics of municipal leadership at SUMA's Mayors Summer School, happening this week in Regina. My guest today is also Randy Golden. She's the president of SUMA and a Yorkton City Councillor. Randy, you were laughing along as I asked those questions of him.
Former Mayor Clark was a wonderful leader, not just in his city, not just in the province, but he took roles on the federal level too. He was the vice chair of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, big city mayors. He took active roles in things that like the Western Economic Strategic task force that we had going on. He was the vice chair of that. So he's taken on large roles at all orders of government across Saskatchewan. But I have to say he's still involved, and to say yes to coming to the SUMA Mayors School, I'm really looking forward to continue to learn from him.
Okay, we are going to bring in our next guest, who I understand is a very good friend of yours as well. Pat Jackson has been on and off town council in Kipling since 1988. It's 2025, you guys. That's almost 40 years. And while Mayor Jackson has extensive experience, she is constantly striving to learn more. She will be attending the Mayors Summer School in Regina, and she is with me in our Regina studio to tell us more. Welcome, Mayor Jackson.
Thank you very much.
What made you want to get into municipal politics in the first place?
In 1988, we had moved to Saskatchewan for my husband's work. My kids were both very busy in school and with friends and such. I wasn't doing a lot of teaching. I don't do boredom well. And I've always had a little bit of interest in politics. I guess you could say I'm a political junkie, although a
little interest and then says a political junkie.
Yeah. But I refuse to call myself a politician. I am the ambassador for the town of Kipling.
Okay, I can get behind that. How has being the ambassador for the town of Kipling changed since 1988?
Oh, my Lord, has it ever. Back in 1988, we really didn't connect outside our particular area at all.
What Mayor Helmuth was talking about, like it was not regional at all.
No. It was like SUMA existed, but it was, okay, you went once a year to the convention, you learned some stuff, you went in the fall to the regional meetings, you learned some stuff, you did get to meet a few people, but nothing like the networking that we do now. I think Kipling's big foray into a regional mindset came about. We have a hospital that was built, I'm going to say it's got to be close to 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. It was built by 8 municipalities, 1 town, 3 villages, and 4 RMs. Mm-hmm. And yes, there was some input from the province, but they basically were not, somehow they didn't like us at the time. And instead of saying, you'll get the same percentage that every other hospital did, they said, here's how much money you're going to get. The rest you have to come up with.
How much money was that?
What did they put in, or what was it total?
How much did you have to come up with?
The town of Kipling north of $500,000.
How many people do you have in Kipling?
At that point, 1,000.
Okay, so that's no small ask.
No, and what we did for years prior, there had been a checkoff done that was part of our tax base, and it was automatically put away just to make sure that the money was going to be there. And of course, because the hospital is built in Kipling, the land base was included in our contribution as well. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't easy. If it wasn't easy for us, I think of some of the villages. It was scrambling for them, mm-hmm. but they put away their nickels and dimes and had the money at the ready. And so when the hospital was built, it still services 3,000-4,000 people mm-hmm. in the larger area.
And is it a full service hospital?
It is. Well, I guess in a sense, yes. For a small town hospital, certainly there is no surgery done there, mm-hmm. but that's quite the norm now. Yeah. We have 3 physicians, a nurse practitioner, and an advanced authorized nurse who covers a lot of stuff in the ER.
As an ambassador or mayor to a small town, do you find that you are having to advocate for healthcare in a way that maybe mayors in big cities don't have to, or don't have to at the same level?
Well, I think they have to, but their focus has to be different. In ours, right now, just a current issue, because of some things that are nobody's fault and nobody planned the issues, mm-hmm. we've got a bit of a dearth of lab X-ray technicians. Most of the people that we have had are CLX, combined lab X-ray, mm-hmm. CLXT. We have traditionally had 4. Mm-hmm. We're down to 1.
Uh-oh.
And one is on maternity leave, one is on health recovery, and one, she and her family moved where her husband got work, so relocated. But we are fortunate that we have got something called a health foundation, and it is members of the 8 municipalities that were involved in the hospital. They actually own 4 houses in town, 3 for the physicians, 1 that is used when ambulance drivers can come out mm-hmm. from...
Like if they have to stay.
Oh, yes. And oftentimes these people will come out if they've got 4 or 5 days off. They can stay. They'll do shifts for that time. And
that's really smart.
Well, I think it's working quite nicely. We haven't had an ambulance bypass in several years. Now, there happen not to be housing available right now, so they have rented an apartment in one of our apartment blocks.
Do you
And
have
furnished-
housing in Kipling? Is that a whole other?
Let's not go there. That's another nightmare.
Shortage?
Very much so. I think if you were to go online to look, we might have 3 houses for sale. And
How many would you hope to have for sale?
I'd love to have. I could probably fill 10.
Okay. So you'd need more than that.
Yeah, and rental is just about non-existent.
So I ask you this. You've been involved in governance for a long time.
Yes.
You've been doing this a long time.
Yes.
Do you go to learn or do you go to share information?
Both. If I stop learning, I might as well get my little piece of dirt and be pushing the daisies up.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's
That's a good, but you're a former teacher, though, too.
I am.
So you see the value in education and lifelong learning.
I do, and I'm still a teacher. I will be a teacher my entire life. Right now, and they probably would shake their fingers at me, most of my students are my council members.
Oh, really?
Well, because
You recruit from the classroom, do you?
no. Actually, I have not recruited any of the people that are currently on council. They made their own decisions. But there are so many things that 2 of my councillors have been on council since November of last year. Mm-hmm. They've got, like it or not, they've got lots to learn. 3 of them were on council the term before. They even say, we know more than we did last time, but we're still not there. I've got 1 who wasn't on the previous 4 years, but he was for 19 years previous, and he's come back. So,
Mayor Jackson, how long are your counselors going to continue to learn from you? How long are you going to keep this going?
if my health and my husband's health hold,
Yep.
I will finish out in 28.
So you will do 40 years.
Well, not I won't
On
have,
and off.
Yeah, I won't have 40 years in at the table, but I will have bits and pieces. I will have 20 some.
What advice do you have to someone who's considering getting involved? I mean, we heard former Mayor Clark talking about, I'm going to be honest, the gong show that it can be working on a city council. There are some people who say, I have no interest in doing that. But what is it that keeps you going, that keeps you coming back and might have you encouraging other people to do the same?
Last September, I tried to do something. It was not a phenomenal success, but I tried to have a session in town just of an evening. We had cookies and coffee and a chance to let people know what was going on. My advice is to find out what on earth you're getting into. Mm-hmm. You know, so that you ask some questions, come to a council meeting or two so that you know what happens there. Stop in at the office and see, even if you're not sure what the ladies in the office are doing, you can see just how busy things are. Talk to the current councillors, talk to me, talk to some of the former councillors. Get a bit more of a feeling of what's going on and learn your role. If there's anything that I would want to stress, it is that most people getting on council don't have a hot clue what
Know what your lane is.
yes, yeah.
And get in your lane and drive that lane.
Yeah, or play in your own sandbox, however you want to word it. We're not administrators. It's not our job to be. It's not my job to be going to our foreman and saying you're doing things wrong in the water treatment plant. I don't know that plant. He knows it inside and out. It's not my job to be going to the guys sweeping the streets and saying, you've got to do this street today. That's not. That's our job is governance, which means it is taking a look at the big picture. What are the goals that our community wants to see accomplished over the next 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years? How can we afford it? Is it legal? No, I mean, that's
a good question. In some cases, people want to do things they can't legally do.
Precisely. And that's the first question, is this legal? 2, is this something that we could afford? If we can't afford it ourselves, how do we go about working with people around us to accomplish the things that we'd like to see?
Thank you so much for just imparting what you've learned and just for being such a ray of sunshine when it comes to civic governance. I so appreciate your time, Mayor Jackson.
Thank you so much.
Mayor Jackson is the mayor of Kipling, serving on and off that council since 1988. And a thank you also to Randy Golden, who's the president of SUMA. She's been with us here today. Thank you so much for sharing what you are doing and helping make the next generation and ones afterwards of our elected officials, understand and make our communities better places.
Well, thank you for having us. And as you can see, this is definitely, we are the government of proximity. We are on the ground providing that quality of life for all the residents in our urban communities.
I love it so much. Thank you so much, Randy.